Hello, this is now chapter 4, chapter 4 of our book Hercufleas. This little flea has been born. He's had his dinner. He mistakenly, without really knowing, had some lion blood and felt very brave and courageous and roaring. The rest of the family are ready to go to bed. Here comes chapter 4. Hercufleas didn't want to go to bed. He had only been alive for today so far. Tomorrow was an impossibly long time to wait for more adventures. I want to explore, he whinged. I don't even know what's outside the house hat. You shall, said Min. Ushering him into the bedroom, she tucked him up in his silk and feather quilt. Then, snuffing out the lights one by one, she told the fleas a story, which was an adventure you went on inside your imagination. Burp and Slurp wanted a tale about the Bogan man, but Min said it was too scary for little fleas only 1 day old. Instead, she told them about a talking cricket and a wooden puppet called Pinocchio. She stopped at the bit where Geppetto, the carpenter, is thrown into prison, promising to tell the rest of the story another night. Then she fetched her legolin, which was like a violin, only played with her feet. In the golden light from the doorway, she played the fleemily beautiful melodies, too high for human ears to hear, until dreams came and took them off to sleep one by one. All except for Hercufleas. Long after the lights went out, he lay in his bed, listening to everyone around him mutter and snore. He tried not to fidget and to keep his eyes closed, but it was impossible. His legs twitched, kicking off the covers. He sat up and looked at the door. Quietly he slid out of bed. Tiptoeing past his parents, he groped for the door. It closed behind him with a click, and Hercufleas was out in the corridor. The house hat was different in the dark, like it belonged not to the fleemily anymore, but to someone else, someone living among the shadows in stillness and hush, who glared from the dark every time Hercufleas made a floorboard creak. His skin prickled, and his heart skittered, and his legs jittered with each jump. Inside his egg it had been dark, but not dark like this, not endless and swallowing and chill. He stumbled up the stairs, almost shrieking when he came face to face again with the Tsar glaring from his stamp above the banister. He groped around the living room, stubbing his toe on an armchair. Ow, ow, ow! He hopped around the room in agony, holding his foot. He tripped on an armchair, slid across a rug, and crash, whoomph! He was in the fireplace. Ash and soot flew up in a choking blizzard. Coughing and spluttering, Hercufleas leaped from the hearth, reached for the heavy velvet curtains, pulled up the window, unlatched the shutters, and gulped a deep breath of clean air. Outside there was a monster. Its head was the size of the whole house hat, with pale skin speckled like an eggshell, and odd-coloured eyes, one green, one brown. Its hair was a tangled mess, a hideously big mouth twisted into a scowl, with rows of square white teeth, each as big as Hercufleas. The glass buzzed in the window frame, and there was a rumble like thunder as the monster's mouth started to move. 3 florins, it said. That's all I've got. Hercufleas jumped so high he banged his head on the ceiling. He landed back on the floor, tiny heart thrumming with terror, yelling, Giant! Giant! There's a huge monster outside. He latched the shutters, wrenched down the window, shut the curtains and hid behind an armchair. Tap, tap, tap went something on the window. The whole house hat wobbled and shook, and Hercufleas trembled. The giant wanted to come in. Hercufleas, Min called from the downstairs corridor. Where have you got to? What's all this shouting? Tap, tap, tap went the monster on the window again. This time Hercufleas stood up. The giant had already seen him, but there was still hope for his fleemily. He was done for, but they might still get away. Run! Hercufleas yelled downstairs. Everybody run! I'll be the decoy. Without waiting for a reply, he bounded to the curtains and threw them open once more. On the other side of the window, an enormous finger tapped on the glass with a dirty nail. Hercufleas pulled up the window, trying to remember the courage he'd felt after drinking the lion's blood. He leaped from the house hat, landed on the finger, and bit down as hard as he could. There's Hercufleas biting down on the monster's finger. There was a deafening yelp as the giant's blood filled his mouth. It was bitter and fiery, and it made Hercules feel hollow inside. The giant's other hand flicked him into the air, knocking the breath from his lungs. He fell, bouncing on the floor and skidding to a stop. He lay dazed, hearing shouts and curses all round. He hoped his Fleemily had escaped. He hoped he'd saved them. Looking up, the enormous pink hand was coming towards him. He closed his eyes and his life flashed before him, which took about a nanosecond. He waited for the enormous thumb to squish him down. Here lies Hercules, he thought. He liked hugs from his Fleemily and going boingy boingy, but he never found out what happened on Tuesdays. The giant didn't squash him. It plucked him up, dangling him in the air. "Can I have this, but in a bigger size?" it said. That's the end of chapter 4.